You know, fathers are molders of generations because we are able to shape the character of the next generation and generations to come by how we affect their sense of identity and their sense of destiny. I want you to know that in the Bible, it is the father who usually gives a name to their children. The first gift of a father to a child is the gift of identity. Okay? When God created man, the first gift of God to man was identity. Let us make man in our image according to our likeness, right? When Jesus Christ was about to begin his public ministry, his father affirmed his identity. This is my beloved son, in whom I am well pleased, because that sense of identity is very important so that you'll feel confident that no matter what destiny God has prepared for you, you know you will succeed because you have an identity that is positive that God has given you. You understand that? The devil knows that if he can damage your identity, he can cripple your destiny. Your destiny refers to your assignment, and we will see that in a little while. Your purpose here on earth. In Genesis 49, 1-3 is an example of blessing coming from Jacob blessing his son. And Jacob called for his sons and said, "Gather around so I can tell you what will happen to you in the days to come. Assemble and listen, sons of Jacob. Listen to your father Israel." He speaks to his eldest. Who was the eldest? Reuben. He said, "Reuben, you are my firstborn, my might, the first sign of my strength, excelling in honor, excelling in power." Wow. Imagine your father saying that to you. How would you feel? You see, blessing is first of all affirmation. It affirms what the Father sees in you as good qualities, as potentials in your life. He will tell you, you have these good qualities, you have these potentials. That's the first part of blessing. The second part, you will see, Judah, your brothers will praise you. Your hand will be on the neck of your enemies. Your father's sons will bow down to you. You are a lion's cub, O Judah. You return from the prey, my son. Like a lion, he crouches and lies down. Like a lioness, who dares to rouse him. The scepter will not depart from Judah, nor the ruler's staff from between his feet, until he comes to whom it belongs, and the obedience of the nations. He gives him a picture of his destiny. You see, the father speaks identity and destiny to the children. Okay? This is one of the most important roles of a father. Can I repeat that? One of a father's most important responsibilities and roles is to provide identity and destiny to his children. We will see that more in a while. In the Old Testament, you'll find that fathers blessing children is a way of life. Early the next morning, Laban kissed his grandchildren and his daughters and blessed them. Then all the people left, each for his own home, and David returned home to bless his family. Isaac said regarding to Jacob his son, "I blessed him, and indeed he will be blessed, because I blessed him as a father." Genesis 49:28, all these are the 12 tribes of Israel, and this is what their father said to them when he blessed them, giving each the blessing appropriate to him. A father's blessing includes his ability to see what are the needs of his son. And when there's a need, he blesses him. He begins to impart blessing on the child that will empower him in these areas of need or weakness. In other words, when he sees his son a little bit, timid, he will say, "I bless you with a heart of courage. I bless you with a heart of boldness." I remember the time with my own son. I have only one son. That's why I say my beloved son, because only one. His name is Joshua Caleb. Okay? When he was very young, he was a very shy and timid little boy. And I was getting scared. I was a pastor, I was a leader, and my son is very shy. My only son. Okay? And so when I began to learn the power of a father's blessing, I tried it on him first. I called him when he was around 15 years old, and I said, "Joshua, I want to bless you." What do you mean, Ama? Ama kasi ang tawag sa akin. I learned that a father's blessing is very powerful, and I want to experiment on you. Okay. Because I know he was a very shy person. I said, "Joshua, this day, as your father, I bless you with the heart of a warrior. I bless you with the heart of boldness and courage. I bless you with the gift of leadership. And one day you will rise up to lead your generation to God. This I say to you as your father." And I told him, "Say amen, because if you don't receive it, it won't take effect. Receive it." Said, "Amen, amen." Okay, I did it. He was 15 years old. The very next year, he attended a youth camp. He came back, and for the first time in his life, I never see him do that, nobody invited him to make a testimony in front of the church. He just said, I want to share a testimony. Wow. Volunteering to give a testimony publicly, he could never stand in public. And he stood up there and shared his testimony. Wow, something's happening to my son. He just got courageous and bold. Tapang na siya ngayon. And later on, he became the leader of our young people in the church. And one day, our pastoral team came to me in one of our meetings and said, Pastor Dave, what does your son have that we do not have? I said, what are you talking about? Because every time we correct those young people, they don't listen to us. But when your son talks to them, they obey him and they follow him. What's the secret of your son? They don't listen to us, the pastors, but they listen to your son. What does he have that we don't have? I said to the pastors, well, 2 years ago, I blessed him with the gift of leadership. And I blessed him with a heart of boldness and courage. And God fulfilled the blessings I released to my son. Brought it to reality. I remember my son Joshua, when he was studying in school, he had a best friend. I was the chaplain of the school. Okay? And there was a time I was passing by the students. They were in the high school. And then his best friend said, Pastor, Joshua, it seems that my son was doing something wrong. And his best friend was, telling me. And so I saw my son. He was already getting embarrassed. Then I said to his best friend, his best friend is Noel. I said, Noel, I trust my son. And then, oh! And then the other students began to clap their hands. I trust my son. That night, my son came to me. And he said, Dad, thank you so much for affirming your faith in me this afternoon. In fact, I was really doing something wrong. That's why Noel was telling you. But I was so proud of you, and I was so moved and encouraged when you told publicly that you trusted me. I feel I will live up to your trust. Thank you for believing in me. And I tell you, just inspired me. Thank you, Dad. I will never forget this. It's my prayer I will live up to your trust in me. Thank you for declaring it publicly. You understand that? Blessing and affirming your children empowers them. And when we moved to Davao in 2006, my son was working in a software company. He became a software developer in that company. And I noticed everything that my son does is always very successful. In fact, since that time, he never is the one looking for a job. The jobs look for him. Until today. He has traveled Belgium, Australia. He is the one who decides which company he will work with. Because multinational companies will call him and ask him if he's interested in a job. He's not the one really applying. They see his profile. He's a Microsoft certified programmer. He's very good. He's an excellent programmer. And that's why wherever he goes, God gives him favor. He's the one who says, if you allow me to work 3 weeks in Davao City and only 1 week in your Manila office, then I will consider your invitation. An Italian company, Belgian company, and a French company was trying to hire him. All of them said, that's against our policy. Sorry. But the Belgian company called back and said, we have considered your request, Mr. Magalong, and we accept your terms. I mean, which company will accept the terms of an applicant? And until now, he's never out of jobs. He gets offers left and right. You know why? Because there was a time I blessed him. And I've been blessing him since then as my son. And because I've been blessing my son, God's favor has never left him till this day. Because of the blessing of a father. Do you understand this? Okay? And so there was a time that my son was still in high school. He wanted to go. He's trying hard to be a singer. But medyo sintonado. He sings off pitch. But I still saw his passion to be a singer. And so I was so happy when one day I heard from the school that he was chosen to be an entry, one of the entries, both for a quartet and a trio, the school's entry to the national convention of this chain of schools. And I said, congratulations, wow, your dream come true. Now you're going to represent your school, in the national convention, and you're singing. Wow, I said. But the night before that, I wanted to be sure. I'm a musician, and I know where my son's weaknesses are. So I really had to check carefully if he mastered his notes well. So I tried him that evening. He was going to leave early morning for Baguio City. And I said, I want to try you first. It was around 6 p.m. I had a speaking engagement. I had to leave that night because I was invited by a church for a revival meeting. Okay? That was the church of Dr. Don Cua, chairman of Promise Keepers Philippines. We were working together as Promise Keepers in Promise Keepers conferences. And so I said, I tried my son, and you know what I discovered? He has so many off-pitch notes. And then he looked at me. He got scared. I said, Josh, I really have to vocalize you and see to it that you'll perfect your notes before you leave later on in the morning, early morning. But I have an appointment. And so I called Dr. Don Cua. I said, Brother Don, we as Promise Keepers, we teach the men, our family always comes first. I'm telling you, I have a situation with my son. I need to him. He needs me right now. He's already desperate. And I said, I'm canceling my coming to the revival night. And then he said, Pastor Dave, I agree with you. I understand. Don't worry, I'll be the one to preach tonight. And so, later on I heard it was a very wonderful meeting. God was there. But I spent time with my son. And so I perfected the notes. And by 11 in the evening, finally perfected the notes. And so you can go to sleep. And I went to sleep. Next morning, we brought him to the airport, flew to Baguio. And 3 days later, he texted me, Dad, we won 3rd place, national. I'm so proud of you, Dad. If you didn't spend that time with me, I won't be where I am. I love you so much. You're the best dad in the world. I owe you. I owe you this award, and to God be the glory. I'll never forget this, Dad. You spent time with me when I needed you the most. You understand this? The ministry you can delegate to others, but you cannot delegate your son to others. You are the father. And you have tremendous influence in the life of your son. Do you understand this? Okay? So let's take a look at what blessing is about. The word bless in Hebrew, barak, has 2 meanings. It means affirmation, to affirm the worth or identity of another, to honor somebody with your words. When you say, you're a great singer, you're doing well. I'm proud of you. Congratulations. That's affirmation. These are words of affirmation. These are words of blessing. Okay? So affirmation, secondly, impartation, to empower to succeed, prosper, or multiply, to empower another to successfully fulfill his or her unique purpose and potentials given by God. In the book of Genesis, it said that God blessed the fish and the birds and tell them, be fruitful and multiply. The word blessed there means that God now is empowering them to fulfill their unique purpose as birds and fish to multiply. In Genesis 1:28, God blessed the man and the woman and said, be fruitful and multiply and fill the earth. The word blessed means He's empowering them now to multiply by His very words. Okay? So the other part of blessing means to impart. When you say, God, I bless you, I affirm you, I honor you. That is the first meaning. And so you notice in the blessing of Jacob over his son, Reuben and Judah, he first affirmed them. He affirmed their positive qualities, and then he imparted a blessing in order to give them a strong sense of destiny. Okay? The first definition relates to one's identity. When you affirm somebody, you are helping him have a positive identity. Give him a positive self-perception based on his qualities. When you say you're imparting something to your child to empower him to succeed, you are affecting his destiny, where he's going. I remember my son Joshua, when we came here to Davao City in 2006, he said, Dad, I will not go with you. Can you allow me to stay here and continue with my job? I said, why? Why don't you want to join us to Davao City? You have trained me a lot. You have taught me so much. Now, I want to take my stand as a man without depending on you. I've learned already many things from you, Dad. It's now time to put it into practice. I want to be a man. I said, congratulations. And so what we did, we released blessings on my son before we left Manila. And then during the course of 1 year, when we were separated, he would text me from time to time, Dad, I almost fell into a real big temptation, but I remember the blessings you released to me before you left. I want you to know that those words of blessing empowered me to overcome the temptation. I always remember your words, and whenever those words come back to me, it gives me the confidence to say no because I am a blessed son. So he's testing many times. In certain points of his life, he said, thank you for blessing me. Without that, I would have already given to many temptations here. There's a power of a father's blessing. You see, blessing affects a person's identity. It helps him understand who he really is. Do you know why many young people today want to spend more time outside the family than they would want inside the family? Young people are always looking for their identity. They don't want to be recognized just as the son or daughter of Mr. So-and-so. They want to be recognized for their own worth. They want to find their place in this world. Who am I? What makes me different from my parents? What makes me different from other young people? Young people are always looking for their sense of identity, right? Right, young people? You want to find your place. And the reason why many young people are searching for their identity outside the family is many times because they do not have any sense of real identity in their family. When a father is able to bless his children and impart a strong sense of identity in the lives of their children, they are not hungry to find their identity in the world, because sometimes that can be a very dangerous thing. If they don't know who they are, they might identify themselves with the wrong role models in the media, in the barkada, even in the world of entertainment, in the books they read. I mean, you are blessed if your child finds a good role model, but what if they find a wrong role model? Especially your daughter wants Lady Gaga and believes in her. You see the problem? Because they're trying to find a sense of identity, and they want to feel special. They want to feel somebody. A father's job in the family is to provide a sense of identity to his children. It is the father who looks at his children and sees what their potentials are. What are their qualities, their capabilities. And he is the one who tells them, you have this quality, you have this ability. One day you're going to do good. If you work hard, son, you're going to be a great artist one day. You're going to be a great architect. I can see the talent in you. When you are always giving identity to your children, imparting identity by blessing them, affirming them, they begin to develop a strong sense of identity in the family. They're not hungry to find it anywhere else. Are you still here? Okay? And that's why identity is important. Secondly, a sense of destiny. What was I meant to become? I remember my daughter, Shiriel. How many of you know my daughter, Shiriel? There she is at the reception table. I say, Shiriel, my digital artist, my eldest daughter, Faye, my general manager. Those are their particular fields of specialization. Then my little daughter, Shiriel was still a little girl, she would love to draw. And there were times she would show me her drawings. Daddy, how does it look? Wow. I said, one day you're going to be a great artist. And so, she really loved that. And she would come to me with different drawings. Which is better, this one or this one? I said, both are great. No, only one. I said, this one is better, but you're more beautiful. Because she has been brought up with affirming words from her father. I said, one day you're going to be a great artist. And today she is an awesome digital artist. Do you understand this? How we see ourselves, our identity affects our performance. That's why she's very confident with her art, because she had a father who affirmed her ability. And that enabled her to have confidence, to develop her skill to its maximum potential. It also affects our relationship. People are very insecure with people because in the home, they don't feel any sense of belongingness. Especially when they're cursed by their parents, most of the time, they will tend to be very insecure in relationship with people, because they will think that people are also looking down on them just like their parents are looking down on them. We tend to project to others what we think about ourselves. And what we think about ourselves is often influenced by how our parents made us think about ourselves. You understand this, okay? It also affects ultimately our destiny because performance and relationship are essential. To have excellent performance, excellent relationship is what leads you to success. Without those two things, you will not succeed in life. You must be good in relationships and good in performance in order to succeed in anything that you do. Blessing empowers us to fulfill God's purpose for our lives. Cursing cripples us from fulfilling God's purpose for our lives. Blessing or honor empowers us in three ways. Can we read this together? It affirms our sense of self-worth and belongingness, and thereby enabling us to accept, appreciate, and respect ourselves. You know, if there's one thing that really changed my family's life, it's when we did what is called a blessing circle or an affirmation circle. How many of you already learned this? Can you raise your hands? The blessing or affirmation circle. There was a time when God told me to gather my family together and start learning to affirm one another in the family. So we started with the youngest. And everybody will say an affirming word to the youngest around the circle. And then after that, the next to the youngest becomes the focus. And everybody, one by one, will think of what they can affirm on that member of the family. And of course, I'm the father, I'm the last to be affirmed. See, the first time we did that, it was very awkward because nobody wants to talk. Because, you know, when you're not used to affirming one another in the family, it's hard, you know, for the first time to think of what you can say that's positive about your sister or your kuya or your younger sister when most of the time you've been fighting. Right? And so the first time we did that, it was very awkward. Nobody was talking. And so, but I patiently waited. I said, we're not going to end until you begin to find something to affirm in your sister. And so on the way, they started to think, they really thought hard, you know. And finally, they were able each to say an affirming word. That was a breakthrough. And then we went around the circle, so second focus person, and then everybody goes around, gives an affirming word. By the end of that, you know, my wife was already in tears, and everybody feels so good, you know. And, you know, and we did that every week. You know what happened? In 3 months' time, the quarreling among siblings stopped. There was more sense of belongingness. People were respecting each other more. Our children respecting each other more. There was more respect given to us. And we, my wife and I, also fought less. How can you fight somebody who's affirming you every week? You got the point there? You see, blessing or affirming strengthens our sense of belongingness. That's why young people don't want to be with their families. They want to be with their barkada because they feel more belongingness in their barkada. Because in their barkada, they're affirmed, right? They're wanted. But in the home, oh, negative criticism every morning and every night, you know. And so they don't feel any sense of belongingness. They don't have sense of identity in the family. They rather look for that identity outward and they'll find it in their barkada. And if they have the wrong barkada, now you're going to have some problems as a parent very soon. Because you fail to provide your children what they really need. A strong sense of identity and belongingness in the family. You ask my family, they're already, you know, they're not teenagers anymore, they're professionals. But when you go out as a family, even if they have a conflict with their friends, they choose the family. Sometimes they will say to me, my children will say, Dad, let's go there. Dad, let's do an outing there. Oh, let's go to that country. Oh, wow, big faith. Okay. And so we always have fun. There's my youngest daughter. Can you stand up, Genesis? See, she's a, you know, vibrant teenager. She's 16 years old. And, you know, if she has to choose between her classmates, her friends, her best friends, and the family, she would choose being with us. You know why? Because in our family, all my children feel a deep sense of belongingness because we're affirming them regularly. We're blessing them. They have a strong sense of identity in the family. You understand that? Amen. It also builds confidence in our capacity for doing and for becoming. You see, when you are affirming people, it gives them confidence in what they do. They say, you know, my daughter was telling me, she's now just accepted a new job. And I said she's a little scared. And I always tell her, Shiriel, no matter what you do, you will succeed. Because you are working in the field of your gifting, I tell you, nothing is going to be impossible to you. You will learn what you need to learn, but you will always excel as an artist because that is your anointing. That is your gifting from God. and you will excel. Okay? I always love to affirm my children that way because that's true. Those giftings were given to them, and if they work hard to develop those gifts, they will excel. You understand this? It builds confidence in our capacity for doing and becoming. It helps release our potentials. You know, many of our potentials as men are not coming out because of so much insecurity about ourselves. We're sometimes too intimidated. We don't believe we can do that. Why? Because we've been made to believe, I'm just like this. It's like when you're an eagle, people made you believe you're just a chicken. But you don't realize you're an eagle. But because of the wrong environment, you still believe you're just a chicken. But God says, you are an eagle. Nobody has affirmed you that way. You need people who will tell you who you really are so you'll rise up to become what you were meant to be. You understand this? That is the role of a father. And I tell you, young people, you may not be fathers right now. And maybe your fathers, not all of your fathers were able to affirm and bless you in a regular way. I want you to know you can help strengthen your fellow young men by affirming them. You understand that? As friends, learn to find the qualities, the good qualities of your friend and tell him what it is. You know you're a great gift of friendship. You know you're good in writing. You know you're a talented speaker. Don't fail to affirm because that is giving them something that their fathers may never have given them. And they need that kind of sense of identity, which is an affirmation of who they really are, so they will rise up to their fullest potential in the particular gifting that God has given them. Are you still here? That is what blessing does. To bless means to affirm the dignity and the identity of another person. You know Pablo Picasso, right? I've shared this, I think, more than once. When he was asked by his friends when he was old, he died of an old age, the great painter Picasso, what is the secret of your greatness? To that he said, when I was a child, my mother said to me, son, if you become a soldier, you will surely become a general. If you become a monk, you will surely end up as the Pope. I became a painter and I ended up a Picasso. So according to Picasso, what was the secret of his greatness? A mother who never stopped to affirm her belief that no matter what happens, you're going to be a great man one day. And did Picasso rise up to fulfill that blessing of his mom? Yes, he did. You understand that? That's the power of blessing. And I tell you, many of us men may have been damaged in our own families. Many of us have been crippled by curses in our own families. That's why you are not as confident. And I tell you, when you're not confident, when you live in insecurity and fear, your fullest potentials will never come out. And God has given each one the potentials you need to succeed in life. Based on God's specific purpose for you, those giftings and their potentials are meant to be realized to the full so that you walk into the purpose and assignment that God has given you in this world. You understand that? Many of us are not able to move towards excellence in our lives because we sometimes are too intimidated and too fearful or too insecure about ourselves. And I tell you, where are all those insecurities coming from? It came from that environment that you grew up with, when there were more negative words, more criticisms, more judgments, more, curses hurled at you, and that has begun to affect how you view yourself. It will affect you for the rest of your life, and will keep you from becoming the excellent person that God meant you to be, because people failed to bless you. You're still here, okay?